Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing well because today we're talking about music, and today we're talking about a fantastic live album from none other than American progressive rock giants, Kansas. We're going to be talking about two for the show. There's the CD edition here. There's a sidebar, show off the back as well. This is the first live album from the band. This came out in the late 70s during a time period where you're getting all these great live albums from prog rock giants. You know, you've got the classic, not classic Yes, but the classic live album from Yes, classic live album from ELO, Genesis. All these progressive rock giants are putting out live albums. This one is one of the best. This one stands up there. You know, I don't want to give spoilers away about my opinion, but this is a great live album. So let's go over some of the details before we kind of get into the nitty gritty dirt band. So like I said, came out in 1978. This is actually a 1990 or 1989 pressing reissue there. The album was recorded over the course of three tours from 77 to 78. So that's just after the release of Point of No Return, but before Monolith. For a lot of people, this is the height of the band. It's unfortunate, but a lot of people, they see Kansas as having, you know, five or six albums worth listening to that are considered, you know, classics or great, and then nothing after that. As soon as they start going into a more AOR, hard rock, kind of more commercial poppy hooks area, not worth listening to. I think there's a lot there. I do agree. I think, you know, their early stuff is some of their best, but there's a lot during the 80s that I think really stands out as being great Kansas stuff. And I would even say some of their later, the last two albums they put out, like Absence and Presence from 2020, super awesome. I think totally worth checking out. That said, this live album catches the band kind of at their height, at their peak. And so for a lot of people, this could be the definitive live album for the band. It could be the only one you ever need. And even if you're a fan of their later career stuff, as well, this still has so many great tracks on it. So it was certified gold and then platinum shortly after its release, only in the States. It's charted elsewhere as well, but only certified within the States. That doesn't mean it didn't sell just as well elsewhere. It just means the label or the band or someone associated with the album paid money to get that kind of checked out and investigated. There's also a 2008 remaster for the album's 30th anniversary that has a complete second disc with it that almost doubles this length. As it stands, this one's about 78 minutes. And there's even a note on here: due to compact disc programming limitations, one selection, Closet Chronicles, which is a good track, has been deleted from the original album program. I like deleted as if they, you know, retroactively went back, deleted it like a Terminator kind of situation. But yeah, so that's on the new remasters as well as a second disc full of other tracks. There was one single used to promote this album, so that's Lonely Wind, which comes after Dust in the Wind on this album. Of course, that's not a spoiler. They're gonna play Dust in the Wind. It's sort of like a piano ballad that thematically kind of feels like an epilogue to that track, but it's a good track. It does stand on its own. So there was a radio edit, so they cut it down to 3 minutes, I believe. The track times aren't on here, but I think it's like 4 and some change. So you do get a little bit of the solo, but it's more of the piece itself. And it did pretty good, and it hit number 6 in the pop charts. So who is on this album? Well, if it's from that classic Kansas period, it's got that classic Kansas lineup. So you have Steve Walsh, keyboards and vocals, Robbie Steinhardt, violins and vocals, Kerry Livgren, guitars and keyboards, Rich Williams on guitars, Dave Hope on bass, and Phil Ehart on percussion and drums. The cover design, which is really cool, very iconic. Um, I like it a lot. It's inspired by Norman Rockwell design from 1946 called Charwoman or Charwoman Reading. And I looked it up. It was the cover. I think the National Post was the cover. It's if you just took a close up of those two cleaning ladies there, kind of reading the playbill. So obviously that's the Kansas playbill. And if you look real close, the camera won't pick it up, but it's pointed. It kind of looks like the Point of No Return design, I think. Something Kansas with the playbill. It's not that they're reading the magazine National Post, I think it was. but it's very much just sort of this part of the album. So they expanded it to include some more stuff. And I like it. You have another playbill. You also have, again, you probably won't be able to pick it up, but it's like live shots. Like it's very much, I don't think these are painted. I think they've kind of cut and paste some live shots from the tour on there. Um, Fantastic album. What do you got? So you have 13 tracks, would have been 14, down to 13. I'll just go through really quick on here because I mean there's no low points on this. It's all highlights. You open with Song for America, Point of No Return, Paradox, Icarus, Portrait, Carry On My Wayward Son, Journey from Maribron, Dust in the Wind, which has an acoustic guitar solo, and then Lonely Wind with a piano solo. Mysteries of Mayhem, an excerpt from Lamplight Symphony, so not the total track. The Wall, and then you're closing with Magnum Opus. If that's not representative of classic Kansas, I mean, you can't ask for a better live album. Maybe there's tracks you do like that weren't featured on here, but I mean, at 78 minutes, so the weird thing is, at 78 minutes, it doesn't feel, a lot of new albums come out today, and especially because of digital media and streaming, there isn't a limit to how long you can make an album. So a lot of bands just pile it on, pile it on, pile it on. We'll make 78-minute albums, and they feel long. It feels like a long time. This whizzes by in a great way. It doesn't whiz by in the way that you're not paying attention. It's just so energetic. It sounds so clear. Like even some tracks, I know some of these tracks, when I listen to the studio versions, don't hit me as much. Like Song for America, I like it. I see why it's a great track, but on the studio, doesn't hit me as much. And then same with Icarus as well. I like it. It's got a great chorus. It doesn't hit me as much as it does for some fans, but on here, I'm a fan. Like this is, there's still the best of Kansas from, I think 86 is when that CD or album comes out. That's a great album, obviously, but this is almost like a best of live. And you could pass this off as a best of. I mean, there could be some studio touch-ups. I have done, a little bit of research and I haven't found anything to that effect. There could be, it doesn't necessarily sound like it. It sounds like a live band, but it just sounds so good. Like I can't say enough good things. This is right up there with some of my favorite prog rock live albums. The S1 and the ELO, or not ELO, ELP. Those are great. There's great performances, but it sounds muddy. It doesn't sound clear. Even Rush's All the World's a Stage, that's one of my favorite Rush live albums. I mean, their trio of kind of original live albums are all fantastic. Stage Left and Show of Hands, those are all great. But even those, All the World's a Stage especially, doesn't sound incredibly clear. It sounds big and expansive, but this, I feel, takes that and just really solidifies Kansas as a band. So I think if you're gonna check out Kansas, if you're someone that, like me, for years put off Kansas because you only knew their hits and you weren't into what you assumed they would sound like, check this out. Check out their best of, but check this out as well, because you're going to get a really good idea of what they offer in terms of prog rock. And I can't pick out any specific songs that I like because I like all of them. There's not anything that stands out on here. If anything, it made me appreciate the ones that I was kind of lukewarm on even more. And that's great. So there you go. Shorter review today because it's just such a good album. 2 for the show, Kansas, 1978. Originally. Check it out, and I'll catch you next time.